Belphegor, at that point known as Belphegor, was once a portion of the Choir of Realms. Amid his time in paradise, Belphegor was a companion of Asmodeus and Mammon, even though he did not precisely appreciate his celestial obligations and favored lazing around within the extravagance of paradise, foretelling his lazy inclinations. In addition, Belphegor delighted in creating bizarre and complex objects from all kinds of fabric he seemed to discover, which, according to him, was his exterior side interest. Not at all like the larger part of the revolt-blessed messengers, Belphegor did not at first connect Lucifer's side after he announced war against paradise, nor was he battling against the resistance at God's side either. Despite not being the portion of Lucifer's disobedience, the truth that he denied connecting God's side and instead stood inactively earned him his father's discipline, and he was cast down to hell near all the other rebel angels, changing him into the archdemon of laziness. Belphegor is known as the evil presence of apathy, agreeing to a few conventions. Belphegor was once the effective lead celestial host, but when Lucifer's resistance unfurled, they did not connect the defiant angels. But not one or the other did he back the Lord's angel armed force. Because of his inaction, he was considered a defector and tossed into hell. According to holy person Thomas Aquinas, all sins caused by numbness have sluggishness as their root. Due to Belphegor's impact, people are inclined to dodge weakness and don't accomplish genuine information. The fallen angel is delineated sitting in a toilet, which he employs. Azazel was one of the fallen angels who revolted against God. He was excellent at the start of time, but his wonderfulness was adulterated after the drop. Azazel had a carnal relationship with the lady, who lived on soil. The natural products of this union would be gotten to be known as Nephilim. Azazel's relatives debased the soil and were cleared absent by God's surge. In hell, he is the lord of the Shemites, evil presences that seem like goats. Azazel, who was once a blessed messenger, got to be the curved evil spirit, who speaks to the capital sin fury. When man is beneath the impact of Azazel, he ordinarily commits himself to worshipful admiration. According to the ancient confirmation, the profundities of the sea cover up an immense animal, Leviathan, similar to all creatures that walk on the land, fly within the discus, and swim within the waters. Leviathan was also a creation of God. Within the Book of Works, God portrays this colossal monster, the mammoth, as comparable to a gigantic ocean-winged serpent. At the location of it, men are overcome with fear, but no man is courageous enough to stir this animal. The thought of overcoming it is sheer figment. God depicts the powerful Leviathan as a colossal animal with colossal control. Because it moves, the beast makes tremendous waves. Its effective mouth has shocking teeth, and its back is secured by columns of shields, so close together that indeed, discussion does not stream between them. Asmodeus is one of the most capable and ghastly evil spirits. This evil figure is related to the capital sin of desire. Asmodeus has driven the occupants of Sodom into corruption. For this, the city endured the fury of God and was razed to the ground. The devil too shows up within the Book of Tobit, where he applies a solid impact on Sarah. Her spouse continuously died on their wedding night, but much appreciated by the assistance of the blessed messenger Raphael. Tobit oversees to thrust Asmodeus back into hell. The evil spirit spends his presence, utilizing the carnal inclinations of men, to wreak destruction and distance those who are beneath the impact of divine salvation. Beelzebub is the most effective being in Inferno after Lucifer and Satan. He is additionally considered by many to be the fallen angel closest to Lucifer and is exceedingly respected by him in terms of his power and influence. Beelzebub could be an evil presence associated with the figure of a bull, an old Semitic god of ripeness, and Zebed, the god of flies. This mixing gave rise to the figure of Beelzebub, the plague devil. He is respected as one of the most effective evil presences, moment as it were to Lucifer. His ravenous starvation makes him a persistent devourer. The torment brought forth by this devil assaulted everything in his way, which is why he is associated with the sin of intemperance. The ruler of flies in epidemic torments the souls of those on their way to hell, with his clouds of flies, not permitting a moment's peace for his casualties. Beelzebub is one of hell's most effective evil presences. According to a few sources, he is the moment as it were to Lucifer. Lucifer was born on the primary or second day of creation, forged at the epicenter of the extraordinary explosion, the enormous blast, known as "Let There Be Light." He was born adjacent to the stars and next to other angels, having seen near up the confront of God and Barbalu, with the angels calling them father and mother. Yesh, Barbalu, and their trillions of children meandered through the shadow of space seeking out a place to live until the angels found one of the measurements made by Yesh of the awesome development, and as the place was a little multiverse with 7 parallel measurements, they recommended that their guardians live there, and Yesh and Barbalu concurred. God and Barbalu named that paradise. After they began to occupy heaven, God started to organize the troops of paradise to preserve order within the universe. God at that point organized the blessed messengers by chains of command, that's, celestial castes, with Lucifer at first being set as a cherubim, but due to his extraordinary power, God advanced him to genuine archangel, clearing out him as a supporter of the cherubim, with 6 other angels being supporters of other castes. God named each angel with a particular title, like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Riel, Jophiel, Helel, and Satan. Lucifer was the most excellent of the wonderful creatures. His qualities were such that he was surpassed by the sin of pride. His unbridled presumption made him think he was breaking even with God and driving a resistance against the Maker. To carry out his arrangement, the fiendish blessed messenger concocted a paradox to persuade other blessed messengers, and the father of lies was joined by a third of the radiant creatures who possessed the sky. Lucifer's undermined substances battled against Michael's, and the world shook amid this extraordinary fight that chose the destiny of the universe. The celestial host Michael vanquished the rebels, and the devils were cast out of heaven and into hell. Within the most profound portion of the soil, Lucifer and the other horrendous sovereigns worked to degenerate God's work, and owing to his gigantic pride, Lucifer got to be related to the cardinal sin of pride. These evil presences and fallen angels anticipate the days going on before Christ's return, when they will rejoin the Antichrist on the soil and once more fight the strengths of the Maker. Mammon was created by God, along with all the other angels, in ancient times. When he was in heaven, he would often look out at the golden pavement of Empire Road and be enchanted by its splendor. Helel began gathering as many angels as possible to form an army to wage war against God. He promised the rich man unlimited wealth and gold and promised that it would all be his. Mammon was intrigued and agreed to his offer to fight by his side. As the war progresses, Mammon fights Raphael, while the angel is looking for someone. Although Mammon tried his best, he was ultimately defeated by Raphael and banished to hell. Mammon was one of the numerous pre-Christian gods, He was afterward considered to be a fiendish figure since he was associated with the sin of ravenousness and insatiability. His appearance was said to take after a haggard aristocrat, with distorted highlights and clutching his cash pockets. He built an awesome royal residence in hell, filled with brilliant veins for Satan. The silly eager men accept that this was heaven, whereas he would as it were discover punishment there Jesus was against. The revere of cash embodied in Mammon. The man seems not to serve Mammon and God at the same time. Those who were beneath Mammon's impact discover themselves in an unending journey for cash and fabric belonging, and so will not discover the way to heaven. Fluminal was a seraphim made by God who was a follower of Uriel, a colleague of Gabriel, and a parasite of Helel. After his drop, Leviathan got to be a devil of haziness and chaos and a pioneer of hell, as said in the Book of Enoch. Leviathan is one of Lucifer's arms and one of the faces of the devil in Christianity. He is also the representation of sin and envy. Leviathan could be a tamer of monsters, a mammoth collector, and a great strategist, for his educator was Uriel, the blessed messenger of shrewdness. Leviathan has the power to summon horrendous whales that are common occupants of hell and utilize them in fights. Due to his summoning capacity and being a great strategist, Levi was chosen to be the gatekeeper of Hell Mouth, which he restrained and got to be one of the beasts that he employed in a fight. After falling, Fluminal chose to title himself Leviathan, in honor of one of the primordial monsters he had a great association with, which was Leviathan, aka the Leviathan in Judaism. Leviathan encompasses a solid breath that shoots flashes of light fire, comes out of his mouth, and smoke streams from his nostrils. When this monster rises, indeed the mightiest insect in fear, swords, lances, or bolts do nothing against the animal, whose chest is harder and harder than rocks. Nothing on the soil is comparable to Leviathan's control, but this creature is the natural product of God's will. Like all creatures, Leviathan is, as fueled by God's elegance. The monster served as Thomas Hobbes's motivation for his work. Leviathan agrees with the English philosopher when men return to their normal state, where laws don't exist, they will tend to begin a battle of all against all. A social agreement is required to kill this inopiate state, where everybody gives up portion of their sway within the title of a figure without right control. This figure with specialist over men would be the state, which since of its control over men Hobbes compares him to the tremendous scriptural beast Leviathan.